From the moment he first saw her in grade 3, 8-year-old Michael knew there was something about Emily that made the world feel softer, brighter. She had a laugh that rang out like a bell, one that seemed to hush the noise of the entire classroom just for him. Her kindness was effortless, helping a classmate who had dropped his pencil, offering half of her sandwich to someone who had forgotten their lunch, never failing to say thank you to the teacher. Michael, on the other hand, was the boy who faded into the corners. His family was poor, his shirts often patched, his shoes worn thin. Lunchtime embarrassed him. His mother packed whatever they could, spare sometimes just rice with salt, sometimes a slice of bread. He kept quiet, hoping no one noticed. But Emily noticed. She didn't tease him or draw attention. She would sometimes slide an extra snack across the table with a casual, "I don't feel like finishing this. You want it?" For Michael, those small gestures were treasures. As the years passed, his silent admiration only deepened. In high school, Michael grew taller and a little stronger, but his shyness never fully left him. He would glance at Emily in the hallways, sometimes catching her eye, sometimes quickly looking away when she smiled. Their interactions were small, working together on a project, exchanging notes during a boring lecture, laughing at the same silly joke someone cracked. For Emily, he was a kind classmate. For Michael, she was the quiet star that lit up his youth. He never confessed. Instead, he kept his feelings hidden, scribbling her name in the margins of his notebooks, building castles in his imagination where they might walk home together, hand in hand. After graduation, life pulled them apart. Michael buried himself in responsibility. He studied hard, then worked his way into a modest job at a bank. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stability, something his younger self had longed for. Emily, true to the warmth she always carried, pursued nursing. She studied long hours, endured sleepless nights, and eventually earned her place in a hospital, where compassion wasn't just admired, it was needed. For years, they lost touch, until fate, subtle and unpredictable, crossed their paths again. One weekday afternoon, Michael stepped into the hospital on an errand for the bank. He didn't expect to see her there, bustling down the hallway in a crisp nurse's uniform, clipboard in hand, hair tied neatly back. At first, she didn't recognize him. Time had given him sharper features, a neater appearance, the professionalism his work required. But when their eyes met and her lips curved into a smile of recognition, it was as if no time had passed at all. "Michael?" she asked, a little breathless. "Emily," he replied, his voice carrying both surprise and relief. The years between them dissolved. They talked, laughed, and soon made a habit of seeing each other. Michael began visiting more often, sometimes with excuses about errands, sometimes with none at all. Emily teased him about it, but secretly, she enjoyed it. Her long days in the hospital were heavy with responsibility, but his visits became a light moment she could look forward to, over coffee in the cafeteria, during short breaks by the nurses' station, and in quiet walks through the hospital courtyard. They shared stories of the years they had missed. Emily confessed how hard nursing school had been, how some nights she thought of quitting. Michael admitted the struggles of working his way up in the bank, the mistakes he'd made, the pressure he felt. In those conversations, Emily discovered a side of Michael she hadn't known before: determined, resilient, and quietly kind. And Michael found himself more drawn to her than ever, the childhood crush blossoming into something deeper, something far harder to ignore. Emily began to notice her heart skipping when he came by. His voice comforted her, his presence steadied her. She would catch herself smiling when she saw him walking down the corridor, her tiredness lifting. Slowly, gently, she was falling. But Michael carried a weight. He was married. A marriage born not out of deep love but obligation, one that existed more in legal ties than in shared life. His wife lived in another city, their relationship distant, a bond worn thin but never broken. He didn't mention it to Emily, not at first. He told himself it wasn't deception. He had never claimed to be single, but in the silences, in the things left unsaid, he allowed her to hope. One rainy afternoon, as droplets tapped against the hospital windows, they stood close by the nurses' station. Michael was telling her a light-hearted story about a client at the bank who had nearly tripped over his own umbrella. Emily laughed, covering her mouth, and as he gestured animatedly, their hands brushed. The touch was small, accidental, but it sent a shock through them both. Emily's breath caught, and Michael hesitated, his smile faltering under the weight of what he felt. "He began, his voice low, almost trembling. I care about you, more than I probably should. Emily froze, her chest tightened, her mind racing. She cared more than she wanted to admit. But then the truth weighed on her. He was married. Even if his heart leaned toward her, there were vows, promises, and responsibilities that bound him elsewhere. From then on, their visits took on a new texture, warmer, closer, but edged with a bittersweet awareness. Their eyes lingered longer, their conversations dipped deeper, their silences carried more meaning. They shared smiles that hinted at longing, moments that felt like almost confessions, but never stepped past the line. Emily knew she could not have him. Michael knew he could not give himself to her. And yet, neither could let go of the connection they shared. In the weeks that followed, their bond became a quiet sanctuary. Amid the rush of patience and paperwork, Emily found comfort in his presence. Amid the numbers and rigid hours at the bank, Michael found joy in hers. In the end, love was not always about possession or certainty. For Emily and Michael, it was about presence, about fleeting moments that illuminated the quiet corners of their hearts. It was about a silent understanding that some loves are meant not to be lived, but simply to be felt. And so, in the bustling hospital corridors, between beeping machines and hurried footsteps, their hearts beat in unspoken harmony. A love, unfulfilled, but unforgettably, lived forever in the shadows between them.